Of all the naps I've taken, there's one I regret the most. The Netherlands has more bikes than people, and while living there in 2016, I discovered cycling. The freedom of the open road, the wind in your face, the physical exertion, the mental toughness, the challenge of a climb, and the exhilaration of a descent. Not to mention, it involves time. Time with my thoughts, or time with people I like and love. If you live long enough, you accumulate regrets, and they stack up like plaque on the arteries, or kilograms on the waistline, or junk in a cluttered basement, or arguments in an unhappy marriage. I've been more or less fit over the years, typically correlated with finding athletic activities I can do with friends. A friend of mine invited me to run, so I got off the couch and I ran for several years. I ran a half. Later, a friend of mine invited me to play rugby, so I got off the couch and played for several years. Played second row. I regret the years where I didn't exercise consistently. But I discovered cycling on my own. Some colleagues heard about this and invited me to join them to ride in Mallorca, a veritable island cycling paradise. After lunch in the seaside town of Sacalobra, we climbed the Col del Rice. It's nearly 10 kilometers of nothing but ascent, with grades at times more than 13%. It's winding and scenic and striking, and it's very hard. As I struggled slowly up this mountain in the blazing sun, my boss pulled up alongside me on his bike. A far stronger cyclist with the typical Belgian slender build. Nick could do this climb easily. Yet it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, and my heart was beating out of my chest. Between heavy breaths, I choked out, "Nick, does this ever get easier?" And he replied, quoting the great Eddie Merckx, "It doesn't get easier, Matthew. You only go faster." There's more to cycling than fitness, though. Life is full of stressors and pressures, yet somehow they fade away when my attention focuses fully on keeping the bike moving forward and the rubber side down. I find my mental health improves on a bike. When I'm feeling down or stressed or angry or upset or hurt, I pull with one arm and I push with the opposite leg, then I alternate, then I do it again and again and again and again as hard as I can. And in that cadence, I find calm in my brain and peace in my soul. I'm not just a cyclist, though. I've become a fan of cycling itself. The Tour de France is happening right now, and it's perhaps the most difficult sporting event in the world. They ride intense stage races, often more than 100 miles each, through steep mountains with fast descents, sprinting like madmen to the finish line, only to do it again the next day, and the next day, and the next day, 20-plus stage races in a little more than 3 weeks. This year, the storyline is about Mark Cavendish, a 39-year-old British cyclist who was dominant in his 20s, but whom everyone thought was well past his glory days. But he made an amazing comeback this year. He could have watched the Tour from his couch. Instead, he notched a place for himself in the history books as he won a record 35th Tour de France stage, beating a record set by the great Eddie Merckx, whom my boss quoted on that Majorcan mountain. His story is inspiring for me, particularly at this point in my life, wondering if my best days were in my 20s, wondering if I have the strength and willpower to reinvent myself, wondering if I can still make a mark. Well, Mark Cavendish did, against all odds, against the natural decline of his aging frame, against the expectations of everyone. He got off his couch, pushed past his injuries, overlooked his scars, and changed the arc of his life. No regrets. See, in 2012, several years before I discovered cycling, I visited my brother in Paris. We had a great morning adventuring and exploring, and as we returned to his apartment just outside of the city, I was tired. He said, "Hey, the Tour de France is actually running right through my town today. The peloton will pass the end of my street shortly. It's about 400 meters away. Do you want to walk down there and see it?" I probably said something like, "I don't follow cycling. I don't really care about cycling. Besides, I need a nap." So I laid down on his couch. I took a nap, and the opportunity to see the Tour de France from this far away passed me by. I'm back in the States now. I'd give anything to see the Tour de France. How amazing would it have been to watch a middle-aged Mark Cavendish fly by en route to a historic victory? The world is a steady stream of amazing opportunities and life-changing experiences, and if you're not careful, sometimes you end up with a couch full of regret. If I could, I'd go back to younger Matthew, and I'd shake him awake and show him his future. And I'd tell him, get up, get off the couch, get going. No regrets.